What's up, and welcome back to the last episode of DBSN Overtime for the year. Of course, I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we're excited to get the last one underway. So what's happening in the NBA playoffs this year?
Yeah, so the first round, a couple of the teams have come to a close on their series. To start things off on Monday, the Cavaliers took down the Heat, and Cleveland will advance to the second round after a 4-0 first round. What a start for Cleveland. What a year they've had so far. Obviously a very hot start to the season. They continue that all throughout the regular season. And then obviously into the playoffs with this was a dominant win to get them to 4-0, 138-83 against the Miami Heat. What a game for them. Then on Tuesday, the Magic, they fell to the Celtics. The Celtics, they swept the Magic and they won 120-89. Obviously the Celtics, a team right up there with the Cavaliers all season. They were expected to make a deep playoff run, shake things up, possibly go for another championship, and they're looking like they can do it again. 4-0, like I said, they swept. So great stuff from the Celtics. And then also on Tuesday, the Pacers, they took down the Bucks. This was a close one. This is easily the closest one out of the three teams to advance. But it was still a 4-1 series win. So obviously the Pacers on the dominating side of the series, but the game was a close one. 119-118 was the score over the Bucks.
That's right. The only teams that know who they're facing in the next round is the Cavaliers and the Pacers, as they'll play each other. But last night, the Warriors, they got defeated by the Rockets. But Golden State still is out on top in the series. They are up 3-2. And their next game, which is Game 6, is tomorrow at 9 p.m., and that will take place in San Francisco. Also, last night, the Timberwolves, they knocked out the Lakers, the star-studded Lakers that were expected to go far in the first round, 103-96. So LeBron and Luka will not be playing the rest of the season after their 4-1 series loss.
Yeah, and possibly the last game we'll see out of LeBron James. So what a way to go out for him. I mean, unfortunate, but obviously a great resume. So then we turn to today as the Knicks take on the Pistons in Detroit, and the Knicks lead the series 3-2. The Knicks won the last game after a very controversial end to the game with a no call. Was that on I think you would know better than me, was that on a penalty or a foul call?
Yeah.
So a very controversial foul call at the end of the game. Then also today, the Nuggets take on the Clippers, and the Nuggets lead the series 3-2. And there's another game possible if a Game 7 is needed.
That's right. And now we're going to send it into MLS news. Match day 10 was completed. On Saturday, we had a whole slew of games. Started out with FC Cincinnati taking down Sporting Kansas City 2-1. FC Cincinnati is out on top in the Eastern Conference. Toronto FC, they fell short to New York City FC 1-2. Philadelphia, they dominated DC United 3-0. Red Bulls New York, they won 1-0 over Montreal. Orlando City, they also dominated Atlanta United 3-0 at home. Charlotte, they fell to New England Revolution in a surprising loss. They will take on the Columbus Crew next week in Columbus. The Columbus Crew, they beat San Jose Earthquakes 2-1. The San Diego FC, after a hot start to the season, they've kind of trickled back and fallen short. They lost 1-3 to Real Salt Lake. Nashville SC, in a dominant win over Chicago Fire 7-2. Sam Surridge scored 4 goals and won the MLS match day player of the week. And then the Houston Dynamo in Derby, they faced Austin FC, and they won 2-0. And then the Colorado Rapids and the Seattle Sounders tied 1-1. But then on Sunday, Minnesota United, they fell short to the surging Vancouver Whitecaps 3-1. And then Inter Miami, they took their first loss of the season in a high-scoring matchup against FC Dallas 4-3. And then LAFC and St. Louis closed it off on Sunday with LAFC scoring a equalizer late at the death to tie the game 2-2. And then also the final one, LA Galaxy, they fell short to Portland Timbers 2-4. The defending champions have not gotten a win yet this season, so they're definitely looking to get back and try and get some wins here, as they are missing a couple of their stars from that run last year. But so far, the leaders in the Eastern Conference are the two Ohio rivals from the Hell is Real Derby. FC Cincinnati is out on top with 22 points, and then Columbus Crew follow up with 21 points. And then in the Western Conference, the Vancouver Whitecaps, they lead the lead with 23 points, and they are followed by the Portland Timbers, who are currently at 18 points.
Yeah, thank you, Eli, for that. And then we turn to MLB news. Yesterday, the Cardinals, they took down the hometown Cincinnati Reds at the close of a doubleheader. 6-0 was the score of that. And then the Tigers, they beat the Astros 7-4. The Dodgers, they took down, got a little ahead of myself there. The Rockies, they took down the Braves in a close one, score of 2-1. Then the Dodgers, they took down the Marlins in a big one. 12-7 was the score of that game. The San Diego Padres, they beat the Giants by a score of 5-3. The Mariners, they took down the Angels 9-3. And then the Guardians, they took down the Twins by a score of 4-2. The Orioles, they took down the Yankees by a score of 5-4. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they took down the Chicago Cubs by a score of 4-3. And then the Phillies took down the Nationals, another big one, 7-2. And the Royals, they shut out the Tampa Bay Rays in a shutout. 3-0 was the score. And then in a close one, following that, the Blue Jays took down the Red Sox 7-6. The Diamondbacks, they took down the Mets in another close one, 4-3. Then the Milwaukee Brewers beat the White Sox 6-4. And in the last one, in a very big win, the Athletics took down the Rangers by a score of 7-1. So lots of movement in the standings here so far. In the National League, the Mets with a record of 21-10, they lead that. Quickly followed by the Dodgers, also with a record of 21-10, which are followed closely behind by the Padres with a record of 19-11. And then turning to the AL, the Tigers, they lead with a record of 19-12, followed by the Mariners with a record of 18-12, and then right behind them with a record of 18-13 are the Yankees at third place in the American League.
Yep, that's right. And with a long season ahead of us, there's definitely going to be a lot more movement in the standings. But we're going to send it to this last edition of Worldwide Wacky Sports with John for the year.
Gurning is the art of pulling extreme facial expressions, a tradition dating back to 13th century England. The most famous competition is at the Egremont Crab Fair, where contestants distort their face through a horse collar, known as gurning through the bracken. The ugliest, most exaggerated face wins, often helped by missing teeth or flexible features. The humorous gurning remains a cherished tradition, keeping history alive through laughter and competition.
Thank you, Ian, for that. And we will turn now to NHL news. The NHL playoffs, they're still underway, obviously. All teams still playing in the first round, except for a few who have been able to clinch their series so far, those being Carolina, Washington, and Florida. Carolina winning 2 nights ago, and then last night, Washington took down Montreal, and Florida took down Tampa Bay to win their series respectively. It's been a fun one so far. Lots of interesting developments, which probably the biggest one for most of the NHL fans being Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck over the past couple of seasons kind of developed a resume of maybe not being as great of a playoff performer, although he has been arguably the best NHL goalie over the past 3 seasons. And kind of demonstrating that, he has had a .922 save percentage over the past 3 seasons, which has been the best in the league. However, he's had an .863 save percentage in the playoffs the past 3 seasons, which has been the worst in the league. And his Jets have fallen in the first round both of the past 2 seasons, but they are currently up by a score of 3-2 in the series over the Blues. And last night he had a pretty solid game as the Jets won 5-3 over the Blues. So maybe a little bit of a comeback for him as he looks to hopefully lead his team down another stretch, as he's the obvious Vezina winner this year. So hopefully he can turn the page and start a new chapter of his playoff career. And then out of Colorado, another player who we've been missing for a little bit of time, Gabriel Landeskog. He has not played since the 2022 playoffs, as he's been out with an injury, trying to recover. It's been a long-term process. He hasn't been exactly sure what the injury has been. Started with a laceration to the Achilles. It wasn't anything acute, so had to figure out what exactly he would have to do to get back, but he did end up coming back, and Colorado fans very happy for it, as He's already scored 2 points in his first 2 games played, and Colorado, they're tied with Dallas by a score of 2-2 in the series. So it's going very well for them, and they're a cup contender. So they're very happy to have their captain back. He's a very important piece to their program. So Colorado looking to do big things in the playoffs. And obviously Colorado coming off of 3 years ago, the Stanley Cup win was the last game that Landeskog played, so he knows how to lead them to it as well.
That's right, and going off from the ice, we're going to go out to the course, onto the green, as last week Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin won the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, the only team event of the year. They dominated in that one. Andrew Novak just a couple weeks ago lost to Justin Thomas in a playoff, and he got his get back there, and he's finally got a trophy for him of this season. And then this week is the CJ Cup Byron Nelson, and it is going to be held at TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney, Texas. So,
yeah, thank you, Eli, for that update. And now we'll send it to Ian with one last update for Ohio Sports Roundup.
Thanks, JD and Eli. In Ohio sports news this week, the Cavs crushed the Miami Heat Monday night 138-83 to sweep the series and advance to the next round of the playoffs. The Cavs will now host the Pacers on Sunday at Rocket Arena. Yesterday, the Cincinnati Reds had a doubleheader against the Cardinals and lost both games 6-0 and 9-1, snapping their 5-game winning streak. The Reds will face the Cardinals again today at 12:40 before welcoming the Nationals for games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Guardians defeated the Twins yesterday 4-2. The Guardians will welcome the Twins once more today at 1:10 before heading to Toronto to face the Blue Jays on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And finally, the Columbus Crew look to win back-to-back games as they host Charlotte FC on Saturday at Lower.com Field at 7:30. That's it for this week's Ohio Sports Roundup. This has been Ian Miller, and for one last time this year, let's send it back to the guys.
thank you, Ian, for that. Earlier, JD meant John, not Ian. John's done the Worldwide Wacky Sports all year. And with that, we're going to thank you for staying with us all year, and we hope to see you guys next year as well. I'm Eli Baxter.
And I'm JD Lowe, and again, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you back next year.